Hi guys, Shemo Polot here. Welcome back to the channel. So this week I'm showing you how to use protection. For real. Not that kind of protection though, you're nasty. I'm going to show you how to protect your workbooks and your worksheets in Excel or Google Sheets. Why would you want to do that? Find out later on. Let's get into it. You have different workbooks or worksheets in Excel or in Google Sheets, and you have a bunch of people that you collaborate with, or maybe it's an Excel sheet that goes through the company. And every time you send it out, some people go in there and they write a bunch of stuff that you don't want them to write, and they make a bunch of changes that you absolutely don't want them to make. They mess with your formulas and things like that. Those kinds of problems are the reason why this video exists. I'm here to save you so you can protect either entire worksheets, entire workbooks, or specific cells or specific ranges, so that anyone who comes into your workbook, any stranger or foreign entity that comes into your workbook or your worksheet cannot change the entries that you do not want them to tamper with. Okay? That's the goal. So we're going to start in Excel, and then we'll do Google Sheets afterwards. But let's get into Excel first. Here I have a sheet where I was demonstrating how to use a special function called SumProduct. I'll be making a video on that very soon. But for now, I just want to show you something really quickly, okay? So what we want to do for starters is protect the entire workbook, okay? So there are a couple of ways to do it. I'm using a Mac here. So if you're using a PC, which I wager most of you are, when you go to File, you go to Info. I'm just showing you that this isn't visible here because I have a Mac. For me, I have to go down here to always open read-only and restrict permissions and passwords and things like that. But for you on a PC, click File, click Info, and then at the top, it should be one of the first options. There's Protect Workbook, and you click the sort of drop-down arrow, and that will have options on whether to make it read-only. It will have options on whether to encrypt the entire file with a password, so that anyone that opens it has to enter a password, or you can just make it such that the file is read-only. Every time someone opens it, it shows you that it's read-only, so that they can't make edits immediately. So there are all those different options at the beginning via File in Excel for PC that can help you protect the workbook that way, okay? The other way to do it is to come inside Excel, go to the Review tab, and up here, click Protect Workbook, okay? And in this case, it's asking you to protect workbook structure, and this means if that box is checked, that means someone can add sheets, they can't hide anything, they can't rename any sheets, and so on and so forth. So that really just protects the integrity of your workbook, okay? And so you can choose to enter a password or not. Obviously, if you want to really restrict it, then I suggest you enter a password. However, make sure you do not forget that password, because if you do, you will not be able to access the workbook ever. It's crazy. So don't do it. Yes, but otherwise you can just click OK. You can see down here you're not able to add a new sheet. You're not able to change the name of the sheet. As you can see, I try to double click and it says workbook is protected and cannot be changed. Okay, so to remove that, I just click Protect Workbook again, and now I can add the sheet and so on and so forth. Okay, let me just delete that. All right, so that is the first way. Now you can protect the whole sheet. Sheets are just these separate tabs that are open in Excel: Sheet 1, Sheet 3, Sheet 4, and so on and so forth, okay? In order to protect it, again, you click inside the one you want to protect. If you just want to protect the whole thing without making any specific changes, then all you have to do is, again, select the specific sheet you want, go to Protect Sheet, and again, it will give you options of what you want to allow users of the sheet to do. Here it says it will only let you select locked cells and select unlocked cells. And then it has a bunch of other options here, which if you want to give anyone that's entering your sheet access or the ability to do any of these things, delete columns, delete rows, sort, filter, use pivot table reports, insert columns, and so on and so forth, all you have to do is read through the list and just check the box to decide what functionality you want to give the person who is going to access the sheet or the person who's collaborating with you in said sheet. You would click OK, and again, in the same way, if you try to make any changes, as you can see, it will bring up this alert, and I'm just going to click Unprotect Sheet, and then we're back to square one. However, Most people don't want to do radical stuff like this. I mean, if you want to do radical stuff like this, then now you know how to do it. But if you're not radical, what if you just want to block out a specific range? Maybe when we look inside this Excel sheet, we see these different cells that have formulas. Okay, this one just has a simple multiplication formula to get totals. Okay, here we just have a sum if formula, as you can see there. And then we see here as well, 443, there's a sum product formula in there. Okay, you see down here as well, there's a bunch of formulas in there, totals and sum product, okay? So what if you only want to lock the cells that have formulas so no one can mess with your formulas, okay? So this is a bit counterintuitive in Excel. It's kind of annoying, but stick with me, okay? So the first thing that you have to know fundamentally in Excel when you're talking about locking sheets or protecting sheets and protecting workbooks and ranges is that every cell inside Excel, when I say a cell, I mean these cells in here, every single cell is locked by default. What does that mean by locked by default? It sounds a bit weird because clearly they're not locked because you can come in here and type in anything you want, okay? But what I mean is that in order to activate the cells built-in locked functionality, all you have to do is go and click protect sheet or protect workbook. That's why when you click protect sheet just from scratch, everything just becomes inaccessible because the cells are locked by default. So if you want to make certain cells editable while the rest are locked, then let's start with that option. So for example, in this case, this revenue here is in dollars, okay? So I used an exchange rate to get the revenue in UGX. And now I don't want anything in this workbook to be changeable. The only thing I want people to change is the exchange rate because the exchange rate fluctuates quite often. So this is the only cell that I want to make editable. So to do that, what I do is I click this cell. You can either right click and go to format cells, or the shortcut on a PC is Control 1, the shortcut on a Mac is Command 1. So I hit Command 1 and usually format cells opens in this window, but if you go all the way to the end here where you see protection, you see here what I mean by all the cells are locked by default. It will always have a checkbox here on locked. So what we want to do is clear locked for this specific cell, this one that we have selected. We clear locked and we press OK. So now once we are done with that, we can now go and protect the sheet. For this purpose of this example, I don't want to use a password. I'm just going to click OK. Now what you see is if I try to change anything, I get an alert. Anywhere I click, I get an alert. But if I go here and I change this exchange rate to 37, that changes. And as you can see, these numbers changed automatically because the calculation was tied to this cell. So you see, anyone who comes here can change that exchange rate, and so on and so forth, okay? So that's the first way, how to make one cell editable while keeping everything else uneditable, okay? The next one is a bit trickier, and there are a bunch of different ways to do it, but now what I want to do is I want to lock all the cells that have formulas. Oh, the first thing that I need to do is unprotect sheet. Let me click inside here. I select everything. Now I go, I select this. These are the cells that have formulas. I select that, Control 1, there we go. I'm leaving the cells that I've selected, I'm making them unlocked, and then the ones that are unselected, which are the ones with formulas, those ones are remaining locked, okay? Does that make sense? Let's back up a little bit, okay? So all the cells in the workbook are locked by default, okay? So if I want to make it such that only the cells that contain formulas are the ones that are locked, what I have to do is select all the other cells in the worksheet, okay? Make sure that those cells are unlocked so you can edit them, and then I just have to leave the ones that are unselected, the ones that have formulas, because they'll be locked by default once I click protect sheet or protect workbook, okay? So what I do is select everything, select these cells, but really what I'm doing is unselecting them, okay? I hold down Control to select or unselect non-contiguous cells. Non-contiguous cells just means cells that are not close together or touching each other, okay? So now at that point, I do Command 1, okay? And again, I want to remove locked, click OK. And now what I do is protect sheet, and this is okay. I leave that as okay. All right, so now what we see is everything here is editable. I can change this to, let me change this quantity to 300, you see that? But if I try to change any of these cells that have calculations, if I try to make a change in there, as you can see, I get an alert. If I come here, try to change this, I get an alert. If I come here, try to change this, get an alert. Come here down, this has a formula, I try to change this. You see, but everything else is editable. You see that? So that's pretty much how you do that. So that way you're able to protect all the cells and ranges that have formulas. Okay, that's usually what people use them for. You want to make sure that all the different cells that have formulas are protected or locked such that someone can come in there and type random stuff and mess up your formulas, okay? But that's how you do it in Excel. It's a little counterintuitive. Just go back and rewatch the video a couple of times if you need to get a hang of it. But basically the fundamental thing to remember is that all the cells are locked by default. Because they're locked by default, if you want to unlock a specific cell, you have to click in it, go inside format cells and uncheck the box that says locked. Now that cell will be editable once you protect the sheet, okay? However, this is a lot simpler in Google Sheets, okay? In Google Sheets, all you have to do, again, I'm inside Google Sheets. This is a consultancy hours tracker that I created. So in Google Sheets, all you have to do is the same thing. I'm looking for cells that have formulas. This one has a formula, this one has a formula, this one has a formula, this one has a this one has a formula, this one has a formula, okay? So again, to do that, all I do is I select the different cells. Again, I hold down Command to select a bunch of non-contiguous cells at once, like that. I select these, like that. I think those are the only ones that have formulas. Once you select those, you go to Data, and you come down to Protect Sheets and Ranges, okay? So now, in Range, so you can select a sheet that you want to protect. Here we have month and validation list because these are the only two sheet options we have. You can make an exception for specific cells, and all you have to do is select the cells by clicking inside this thing or adding another range, okay? But this is not what we're going to do. So in this case, what we do, let's see, right now it says A5 to A10. A5 to A10 is that, okay? So then we click Set Permissions. And you see you're trying to edit part of this sheet that shouldn't be changed. Oh, so what happens is that I already protected these different sheets. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to delete just one of them. I need to delete this as well. Remove that. There we go. So now I should be able to do it. Again, I enter SN. The range that I want is A5 to A10. Click OK, set permissions. And as you can see, it will ask you, show a warning when editing this range, or restrict who can edit this range. You can either choose, if you choose who, then in this case, you can select specific people who would be able to edit the range. As you can see, choose can edit, and you can just add editors by adding their email addresses right there. Or you can just show a warning. Usually a warning is more than enough because there's no need to be so aggressive. And you click done, and there we go. So that's how it is. So now if you come in here and you try to make any changes, as you can see, it will show you an alert, and there you go. Protecting sheets and ranges in Google Sheets is a lot easier than Excel. You just select the ranges you want, and you make the changes, or you come to data from scratch and then you add the sheet range, and then you go and select the range that you want. Beautiful, easy breezy. Using protection is good for you. But there you go, there you have it. If you like this video, share it with anyone that you think it will be useful for. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Peace.